Hello and welcome to the Two Medics podcast. I am Thrushik Wardner. I am a cardiology registrar, subspecializing in intervention. And as you may remember from last week's episode, this sounds like a kind of hark back, like to be continued type thing. But essentially, Imran is he's observing Ramadan. So for the next kind of month, so the next two other episodes, you'll get different hosts. Oh. And so this week, I have the delight in introducing a good friend. He's also a radiologist. I figured we'd go like for like. We wouldn't mix it up too much. But actually, they are different people. So this is a good friend. He has, oh my gosh, now I've got to actually introduce you with kind of facts that are kind of important about you. Or, like where you have to explain a person in like a sentence. So Nav Sharma, he went to medical school with me and Imran, and he is now a consultant radiologist. He also runs the Radiologist page on Twitter and on Instagram. I think you're quite a bit of a big deal on Instagram, but that's not how we know him. We know him from, actually I shouldn't probably say all that stuff. But anyway, I know you from medical school and stuff happened at medical school, right? Do you want to say something?
I was going to see how long you could talk without me saying anything. Could we go a whole hour
I'm
of
sweating,
you just
man.
introducing me? You just keep on introducing and introducing. And I just wouldn't have to say anything and we'd finish the podcast and we'd all go home.
I'm swaying, man. Yes. I'm swaying. Did I do okay? Was that all right?
You did great. Thanks. Great, my friend. Yes, my name is Nav Sharma. I'm not Imran Lasker. I'm an imposter. We aren't the same people. Although I would say, after listening to the podcast, there's a lot of things with Imran I agree with, to be fair.
God.
I will just bring up the text you sent me when you asked me to do this a few months ago. You did say, will you be up for recording? Can you let me know? Just if you can't, I will have to find another generic radiologist. So I'm happy that's how you see me. I'm just another generic radiologist because we are all the same.
You're the same, yeah. I mean, in that dark room, it's just, you don't have the camera on now, so I could just close my eyes. Well, I don't need to close my eyes, but I could just pretend you're Imran, I guess.
I'm not as smooth. It's going to be a bit more rough and ready. There's no segues.
You've got a TikTok as well, haven't you?
I've got, I do little TikTok, but I don't do like proper TikToks. I do educational TikToks.
Yeah, I've noticed, but you do a voiceover, which is quite interesting. Like, it's nice to hear your voice.
I do the voiceover now. but you get Americans like messaging saying, "Oh, is that how you sound like?" Yeah, it's a normal voice, isn't it? No. Okay.
No, apparently not. We've got a lot to talk about. We say this every week, but there's always stuff. There's always just stuff going on.
There is a lot. I was surprised by how much there was and thinking we're not going to get through all of this.
It's true. I thought I'd kind of start you in gently, just kind of break you in, just so gently, and so I thought I'd go with the Junior Doctors UK thread. So just to kind of point out to people the title of the thread, it goes, yesterday I overheard a PA in ED, so PA is Physician's Associate, the emergency department, ED, lie to radiology and say that they were an SHO to get a scan vetted. And maybe just to qualify the kind of the blurb, so I'm working in ED at the moment, PAs in my hospital are not allowed to order any scans with ionizing radiation. I think there was actually like I think there was a tweet saying that's changed. I think that might have changed now. But anyway, we also use a private radiology service out of hospital that usually asks for a scan to be discussed with a reg. And occasionally an SHO. So yesterday I saw an EDPA request a legitimate CT scan using someone else's login. They then called the radiology service first saying that they were a junior before doubling down and saying they're an SHO. The PAs are generally quite good in my hospital, but I find it concerning that one would mislead people. Realistically, it was a scan that needed to be done, and if the PA hadn't done it, some other doctor would have had to request it. What would you do?
I think it's obviously wrong, isn't it? I just wouldn't be a person with any integrity if I said, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well done, mate. Lie, get your scan. No, you can't do that. I mean, I can understand why they've done it. They want to do the best thing for their patient. They want to get the scan through, but it's wrong. It's just not the way to do it. I mean, then where do you draw the line? How much do you lie about?
Yeah.
I mean, we know as radiologists, you are exaggerating stories. You are, we know that to get.
Okay.
Oh, did you not know that?
Well, so I mean, like when I tell you, like I know the GFRs.
The GFR, The secret to life, isn't it? No, I mean, it obviously happens. It obviously happens. But I mean, to outwardly lie. I mean, look, like as a consultant, I would say the thing I always worried about when I became a consultant was all the clinical stuff. So I worried, I'm not going to know enough about some random disease, and I'm going to get asked about it on my first day, and I'm not going to know, and everything's going to fall apart. The clinical stuff's actually not the hard part of being a consultant at all. I would say it's as little as about 10 to 20% of it. Like the rest of it is actually the life skills they don't really teach you in med school. And there's just so many examples of people not really behaving well as a consultant. And you see you see it all the time. And then you just think that's the way you have to be. And people replicate those behaviors. Whereas actually there's just a few ground rules. It's just, be nice to people, act with integrity, and don't be a dick. Basically, if you can do those three things, you will be better than most consultants. Yeah,
sure. How's not being a dick kind of different to being nice, though? I mean, like 1 in 3 probably. you could probably narrow that down.
You can be you can be neutral, can't you? You can be not nice and not a dick. I mean, this is now a different conversation about nice versus dick, which isn't really
interesting.
A conversation I want to get into.
So okay, just to bring you back to this.
What's your take on it?
Well, in this specific scenario, though, say if I saw someone on the telephone and they said those words and they're just lying, I'm not sure I'd have the guts to put my finger on the receiver and be like, beep, and just hang up for them. And be like, mate, or after they put the phone down, be like, mate, what are you doing? You're not. What? Why did you do that? I mean,
well, I think the first one is quite dramatic, isn't it? I mean, that's too far.
Just hang up on them.
I mean, that's getting a little bit Holby City.
Fair enough.
But I mean,
so what would you
do? The second one you can do, can't you? Like, what was that? Why did you do that?
What if they said?
Is that what you do?
What if they pretended not to know? I know I'm kind of stretching this a bit now. But I mean, what if they pretended...
You're turning this into a medical drama. Are you trying to make this podcast into a new medical drama?
I think so, because we need to branch out, frankly. And so I think Holby City's ending. So this could be something. I could be like I could get my own show. Like Jed Mercurio. I could write the next Line of Duty. That'd be awesome. That'd be wicked. But it'd have superheroes and people have superpowers. It'd be awesome. People watch that, I don't know. It'd be too dramatic, I guess. I'm all about the drama. But it's just, it's awkward, isn't it? But I just kind of wonder that realistically, though, I mean, you gave the good talk about integrity and stuff. But really, would you actually be like, mate, seriously, what are you thinking? Would you do that?
It depends on your relationship with them, doesn't it? But, I mean... I don't know. I think I'm different now to what I was when I was an SHO, etc. Right. I think back then, no way. I wouldn't have done anything. I probably wouldn't have thought anything. Now, I think when you've been around the block a little bit, you start to say stuff.
You've got some hairs in your chest. Good.
You do.
There's one comment that I thought was quite good, which is, if they're comfortable lying about this, what else are they lying about? This needs addressing.
That's completely it. That's completely it. That's completely it. It's where do you draw the line? What else are they going to do to get what they want?
Yeah. So they go on to say, best discussed quietly with a senior consultant in department, in my opinion. I would be furious if I took a referral and this had been the case. And this is reply by no_Turkey_Jeremy. But there is another reply which was good, which says, take them aside and politely inform them that the correct term is central doctor. Which is a bit of a nice sentence.
Very apt.
Yeah. Should we talk about that? Should we move on?
Yes, we shall.
So central doctors. So this references a document. Have you read it? Isn't it like 1 million pages long?
I looked at it today after you brought it up yesterday, and
you did your homework.
Yeah, it's a long document, isn't it? It's over 50 pages.
Mate, how many appendixes are there? So there's Appendix 7 that I've seen, but I mean, so the new term, central doctors, is to exactly replace SHO, and that's from this document. Essentially, it's after lots of consultations about rebranding the term junior doctors. To me, though, the whole thing, the fact that we're kind of, the name for doctors is kind of being fussed about, just sums up how little power we have, and that the only thing that we can kind of concentrate on or adjust is what we're called, even though we're like, everything else is awesome, but we could be called a different name. So I don't know. It just seems so bizarre to me.
Yeah, I mean, as I said to you before, I mean, we were talking about this, and I'm a bit. There's two things I think about this. Number one is, look, there's loads of stuff wrong, so trying to correct things bit by bit isn't a bad idea. Right. However, I don't think this needed a full paid review and an over 50-page document to work out what the names of doctors should be. I mean, the irony is the old system was probably the best, wasn't it? I mean, you understood where you were at with house officer, SHO, reg consultant. You're going to get new names like, I don't know, CT1, whatever, and you just explain that means SHO, and I think that's fine. I think that the problem came from people didn't like the term junior doctors, did they, after that whole junior doctor contract thing, because it was such a wide spectrum. Like, junior doctor could mean anything.
Yeah.
But what comes clear is that when there's an apocalypse from the nuclear war and from climate change, all that will be left are cockroaches and the words SHO. Because
and radiologists, they'll be in a bunker somewhere, won't they? Still reporting.
We will keep safe. We will keep safe forever.
You'll just be working on that backlog of X-rays and CTs.
On those cockroach scans. But what made me laugh was the words they had to say, these are the words we are considering for doctors. Did you read the list?
No. What else is there?
So some of the words are absolutely crazy. I mean, in there was virtuoso.
Wow!
So did they actually consider virtuoso doctors?
Who brought that up?
Yeah, can you believe that? Virtuoso doctor?
Yeah,
I mean, it's mad, isn't it?
I mean, when you put it that way, central doctor doesn't sound quite so bad. At least they've kind of brought it back in. But it just kind of makes you think, like, how does that... What is even, like, the thinking behind that? They're central to the team. Like, it's just so, like, weird. But yeah, you're right. I think the originals, the oldies, are the goodies.
The originals are the best, aren't they?
But it's interesting because I saw a colleague kind of mention the other day about how someone made a GP appointment and they were just complaining to their GP that they'd had a clinic appointment and they'd seen the registrar, not the consultant. And there was this kind of not snobbery, but this kind of thing like, oh, I saw the registrar. Like that. Like I've been a reg for ages. I've been a reg for like 10 years, and so. I mean, a fair bit of experience. Like what is it exactly that they're wanting? They need that consultant name to feel like they've got like the pinnacle. And it's just. I
don't think names are going to change that, though, are they?
No, exactly.
Exactly. The damning thing was, like, even within the review, there was criticism of the review. I don't know if you saw this bit, but there was a comment in there that said, "This is some of the feedback we've got. I'm shocked HEE are spending taxpayers' money commissioning a review survey in someone's time to investigate this issue at such a critical time for the NHS. Basically saying this is a complete waste of time. So they're literally getting the feedback as they're doing it and still pursuing doing this thing and saying, we're going to write another 10 pages.
Isn't that's just like the NHS to a T though, isn't it? Like everyone saying, no, this is terrible, this is not going to work. And then just the powers that be being like, yeah, but we're doing it anyway. That's what we're doing. Like, we're rebuilding this hospital. There's not going to be a mess, and the theatres are going to be in the other side. This and that. They're just getting it all wrong, and people are like, "But this is not going to work." And they're like, "Yeah, but that's what we're doing." So, just kind of sums it up. I think kind of name. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Yes, they've got to tackle one thing at a time. But I kind of feel like the names thing in the list of priorities. But I guess if there is one thing that can affect change, but as you said, I just. It's going to get changed again, isn't it? Probably like there'll be another really expensive document like 10 years down the line where we're doing all this stuff again. And virtuoso might come up. Maybe there'll be virtuoso doctors in 10 years' time. Maybe I'll catch on. So like segueing on to another topic about names for doctors. So there's a tweet from at Mrs. Gunnison. And this is where she was reviewing notes as a part of a QIP, a quality improvement project, and documented by a nurse who called the orthopedic SHO about an ortho patient's fast AF. Ortho SHO says they're not a medical doctor. Now, this might not... Is this enraging to you? I found it enraging.
I think it's more down your street, line of rage. Yeah, so I think you should express your views on this.
Because
I can see your rage in your eyes right now.
I am. Because they're essentially refusing to see the patient, and they're asking, they're like, this is not my problem. And there's some nice kind of replies to the tweet saying, is this like the F2 who's like an F1 like 5 minutes ago and suddenly become a Mr. Because you can almost hear the arrogance in that comment. Can you imagine if a medical doctor did it the other way around, where someone had like fallen and like fallen out of their bed or whatever? And sometimes that happens, right? Like, fracture their hip. And you're just like, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm not. Oh, someone's fallen out of the bed. I'm not going to see the patient. That sounds like an orthopedic problem. Like, who does that? The sheer arrogance of it.
Yes, it is. It is wrong, isn't it? It is wrong. I mean, there's two things here. Number one is they're probably not qualified to see the patient and sort it out. So they do probably need someone else to see it. But that person needs to at least do the initial review and call someone who knows what they're doing, don't they? Rather than just say no.
Yeah, that's the truth of most things, isn't it? If it's outside your specialty, you still try and see the patient, right? I guess. Like,
I don't know. From my days, I mean, before radiology, I was a medic, so I will always side with the medical type of thing.
Yeah,
and I will have that bias.
We're the good guys.
But we felt obviously that we got dumped on. I say we, like I'm not
the royal we.
But medics did get dumped on completely, and it's part of the game, isn't it?
It's true. I mean, so just kind of speaking of ways of the medics perhaps try and lighten the mood. So there's a tweet from Mehul. I mean, we have to kind of quote him in every single episode, just to say enough. This tweet was from April the 11th, and this is one where Mehul was saying, apparently telling the SHO a patient has a cheeky bit of the nooms is not a useful handover. I would find this kind of entertaining in the handover, because I used to find them really depressing. When you come on, especially that first night, you come on, and I used to find that I'd have a bit of a existential crisis kind of walking in. I'd just be like, everything would feel kind of unreal, because you'd had the day off, which would kind of feel strange, and you're kind of gearing up towards that first night shift. And you're like, oh God, what's it going to be like? Who am I going to be on with? What's that first night going to be like? And handovers, I'd kind of, I don't know. I just find that if they were a bit kind of bantery, I think they were just a bit more fun, rather than this kind of drawing through a list of chase this trot for this person, chase this CT for this person, chase this, chase that, whatever. So it sounds kind of funny, but I imagine there's some people who probably don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not professional. It's the first thing to say. However, I'm
Bring
not.
Imran back. Where's Imran?
But I'm the kind of person who would like that. I know it's not for everyone. It depends who you're saying it to. You can't say that to everyone. You've got to sort of gauge who you're talking to.
Right.
But I completely agree that, I mean, medical nights are the reason I left medicine, because they were absolutely terrible. I couldn't stand it. I mean, I told you the story of why I ended up in radiology. And it was because of a medical night it was on my bloody birthday as well. And it was the worst night, with like crash call after crash call, patients fitting. It was disgusting. Like, there was one patient I remember seeing or bleeped about chest pain, but I was in the middle of about 5 other emergencies. So I literally ran in, looked at the ECG and was like, are you okay? It was like, yeah, there's no ST elevation MI. Chucked it in his face and just ran out again. And like, it was terrible. And then I literally, after the night shift finished, I had to go back to that ward, go and apologise to the patient.
Yeah.
And he was,
right.
To be honest, he was.
You should be apologising to me too. That's bad. That's bad.
But basically, at the end of the night, I remember that the reg was this Indian guy, really nice guy, but he just looked at me and he was like, "You're not going to do medicine, are you?" And the look on my face.
I can't believe you're doing the accent as well. Is this allowed?
I'll do that, mate. It might not be allowed. You might have to cut this bit out. But he looked at me and he's just said, "You should do radiology." A light bulb went off in my head, and I looked into it, and here I am.
Yeah, wow, the man that you are.
So I mean, anything.
You should thank him. Have you ever met him since then?
No, I've probably never seen him again, to be honest. But yeah, it probably all stemmed from that. But I can completely understand anything. That handover was the most depressing thing before a night shift. So anything that lightens the mood, I am a big fan of. So yes, I am pro the cheeky bit.
Oh, you've come round to it. Fair enough. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, my whole point was that it's technically not professional. It's there to lighten the mood, which I think is well needed.
Yeah, the professional stuff's kind of boring though, isn't it? I guess. It's being boring.
It is a little bit.
Okay. Well, okay, let's move on to things that perhaps also is a little bit kind of above its station. There was a tweet. I mean, anesthesia didn't really it didn't kind of cover itself in glory last week. And unfortunately, they were still at it again when I started to curate our list of pithy little topics for this week. Although it was a little while ago. So to be fair to them, it was probably still in last week that they were still kicking off. But I feel like it's worth a mention. So there was a tweet from the anesthesiologist, and it goes, "What's the favorite quote you like?" And they're basically talking about themselves. And the options are...
But it doesn't make sense, because what's the favourite quote? These aren't quotes.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
I think he means like names for yourself, like names for themselves. That's what essentially... They want to call themselves either A, God of Airway, B, God of Veins, that sounds weird, C, God of Life, and then they put in brackets resus in case. And I'm like, debatable, A&E. They're the Lords of Resus. D, God of Pain. That sounds wrong. E, God of Sound. That doesn't even make any sense. And then they're written.
They're not God of Sound. They are not God of Sound, because they're writing poker. So basically, no. As a radiologist, no anaesthetics.
Yeah. And
stay in your lane.
Yes, and I've seen those echoes, mate. So what is? But they're all gods of. I think is the thing that I was a bit like, oh, this is going in there, because that seemed a bit much, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
is tongue in cheek. He's having a laugh. Yeah, I don't know how far to go. I could very much engage in a lot of anaesthetic bashing right now, to be honest, but I won't, because I've got family and friends who are anaesthetists, and
I think I'd say I've got family and I worry about their safety.
When you've got the God of Life coming after them, of course I do. The God of Life is a very scary God, I feel.
Yeah. I wanted to reply with, if you read that book by Arundhati Roy called God of Small Things, I thought that'd be, I was trying to think of like a joke, and then I was like, actually, did anyone read that book? It's quite an old book. I don't know.
It's too intelligent for me, mate. No.
I thought I'd reply with it, and I was like, I'll save it for the podcast. So I put it in there. If anyone's read the book, I don't think it's actually that rare. I think it must have won a prize. And that's the only, I mean, it's not.
Okay.
If anyone's read that, can you tweet me so I don't feel completely... Anyway, so moving on. So there are some other threads. I mean, the other specialty that also perhaps didn't do so well last week, but I'm afraid we're going to cover again, are GPs. And this particular one I found a bit upsetting because it reminded me of a similar experience I had. It's a kind of reply to Shan Hussein, who we love and we've had on. So he said, cardiology arranges outpatient echo, shadow detected on liver. Cardiology request, GP arrange ultrasound to evaluate further. GP ultrasound request rejected. We'll never fix the NHS if we don't stamp out this kind of nonsense. And that's happened to me. I mean, generally speaking, actually, I wouldn't have done the echo will have been requested by me. And then that generally would do the ultrasound request just to save time. But I did have a case ages ago now where I saw a patient who'd been referred, I think with symptoms of breathlessness or something. But he mentioned that for ages, he'd had, I think, symptoms of Parkinsonism, like tremor, bradykinesia, increased tone. I've still got it. MRCP wasn't that long ago. So and I thought, and I remember going and asking my boss, oh, should I refer him to neurology? He's like, no, you refer to, ask your GP to follow up. So that's what I did. And then the GP sent this really angry letter to my consultant saying, you need to instruct your registrar. And it was just really it was just really mean. But I guess yeah, he was and then the consultant was like, I know that I told you to do this, but they're under lots of pressure, so I'm just going to respond saying I've spoken to you. I was like, okay, cool.
In a way, he's right. I mean, look, I will declare before I say anything that my wife's a GP, so I stand with GPs. I stand with GPs.
You've got conflict of interest, actually. You should have declared that at the beginning of the podcast.
I'm declaring it now, mate. I'm declaring it now. I didn't have to say that. But anyway, GPs get a really hard... I think they get a lot of criticism from radiology in particular. I see a lot of radiologists criticising GPs, a lot. And I don't think they fully understand what a GP job is. I mean, look, yeah, there was no need for that GP to send you that letter. I think that was wrong. But I think the actions of that individual shouldn't make you cast everyone in the same light.
No, I don't hate all GPs. Some of my best friends
it's the
are
same
GPs.
for yeah, true. But I think it's the same for like GP and to me A&E. I think these are two specialties I'm very reluctant to criticise because I think they've got two of the hardest jobs because they're seeing everything and anything, and there's not many specialties that do that. Like most of us stick within our comfort zone. Like even within radiology, like we'll have a specialist thing that we mainly do. Whereas these guys are just seeing everything left, right, and centre. And obviously the whole media thing with the GPs in the last few months has just been terrible.
That's bad, isn't it? Yeah,
it's been really bad. Like they need our support, but obviously they don't help themselves if they're just getting out letters criticising Tharusha Gunawardena.
Yeah, specifically me.
Basically, that's the problem. That is the main problem, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If they could just
they could have criticised someone else, we wouldn't care.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have anything to talk about though, I guess, to be fair. So in summary, I guess we should lay off them because it is pretty tough, isn't it? And so we should
I think give them a break right now. I do see like how hard they work at the moment, and it's I'm not saying we don't work hard, but
okay. Okay, you're basically saying your wife's going to listen to this, perhaps.
I need to not be in trouble.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, let's move on to something a bit more. So, like Imran, he did make some. So, he kind of listening to the last week's podcast. He kind of was thinking to himself, like, oh, missing out and stuff, and we do miss him. And he kind of said to me, oh, like maybe I'll like drop in. And I messaged him beforehand, being like, oh, we're going to start recording at this time. Like, if you want to drop in, he's like, mate, I'm already falling asleep. But he had linked in some interesting tweets that he'd come across through the week. And one of them was really good. It was a tweet from Emily Murnane. So at Emily_MURNANE. And it was on the 4th of March. The title of the tweet is "A Few Really Excellent Arguments for Gender-Neutral Bathrooms." So they had like examples of different bathrooms. So here's one gents toilet that says "Do epic shit" underneath the gents sign, and ladies it says "Smile, you're losing weight." Oh my gosh, there's a lot to deal with that. It's particular.
Problematic, isn't it?
Yes, and then the next one, balls for men and no balls for women. That's problematic too. And then I don't even get this one. One's like a taco and one's a burrito. That's a bit weird. That's weird, isn't it? That's like, like when you're desperate. You're desperate for a whiz and you're like, oh, which one? Which one? Pick one, quick.
Those are the worst toilet signs, aren't they, when you don't know which one it is?
Yeah, but you come across them, don't you? And then the other one, the last one, is the men's toilet is blah, like a single blah, and the women's one is blah, 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 all over it. And I guess the implication is that women talk more. I just think it's just also kind of just coded in sexism, isn't it? It's just awful.
It is. I mean, the stuff with this is, I mean, there's a lot of this stuff about, isn't there, on Twitter, and obviously it's always going to be there. I just feel like it is always going to be there.
What with the cockroaches and the radiologists after the nuclear war?
The cockroaches and the misogyny will always be there. No, but in general, people are not always going to agree, and there's going to be people with views different from our own. And in general, society is becoming more tolerant over the years. And you've just got to think in the future, how is the future going to look back on this stuff? And I don't think it's going to look well on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What side of it do you want to be on? Absolutely,
yeah. So definitely. But part of the reason why the future is going to be better is because people are challenging shit now, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. Although I don't... It's that question, isn't it, of how do you actually challenge this stuff?
I think I know the answer to this, Nav. You've got. So basically, what you do is you refuse to use either toilet, and then you do whatever you need to do just outside the door of the toilet.
On the taco, yeah.
And then it'll change. Something will have to change. You might get chucked out, but it's a dirty protest. My kids do it all the time. Like, you could do that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Miss the toilet. Well, actually, let's go on. There's a kids related tweet. There's a tweet from Brittany K. Bankhead MD. And she was saying, the tweet is from, when is it from? It's from the 9th of April. It says, raise your hand if your kids ever had to hang out at the hospital for a while because a nanny no-showed. Is there anything more stressful? P.S. Yes, my 4-year-old is wearing PJs and no shoes, and there's no shame in either of our game for that. And there are lots of replies which are pretty much along the same thing. So there's a cardiologist from the States who said 6 years ago, power out in daycare, hubby away for work, tough case on the schedule, brought two-year-old to the cath lab with a bag of toys and diapers, and the incredible director and admin smiled and said, we got this. Find a place to work that makes you feel like I did when I needed help. Kids, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I think with this is, I would say from my own experience, I don't think I ever really understood during my training how hard it is to have kids and a career and to do that kind of thing. And I've got so much respect for people who have kids during their training before they become consultants, can do exams. The exams are hard enough. And then if you throw in kids on top of that, drop-offs, looking after them, putting them to bed, and then you've got to revise for exams and stuff. I don't, literally, how did you do it? What did you do?
I mean, it's ongoing, isn't it? So I remember there's times, I mean, it's less, but I remember with Lils, she slept really badly. Erin slept slightly better, but still badly. And I remember the times I'd be driving to work, and literally the running commentary in my head is, I am so tired. I am so tired right now. And it would just be on repeat, like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
And I just remember just walking around with like a cloud over my head. I mean, there are obviously like awesome things about it, but I don't know what to say, mate, because I don't feel like I've got like a good answer for it. Because I guess having kids later on in life, you're kind of like older though, right? And so then there's the whole kind of biological aspect of just dealing with sleep deprivation and things.
It's not easy when you're a consultant either, because you need your sleep for doing stuff the next day. It's hard. I mean, and like when stuff goes wrong and like you've got to leave work to do stuff. I mean, it's now a little bit easier in radiology because most places will have the function for home reporting. So it's not everything, but you can do something from home. But even then, like, how do you report at home when you've got a 3-year-old you've got to look after? And like, if you don't concentrate for 10 seconds and miss something, then you've ruined someone's life and probably your own, because you've made a massive mistake. So it's difficult is all I can say. And it's bad of me, like I should have, but I didn't probably fully grasp that during my training when I was watching others do it. And I do now reflect on that and sort of feel bad. That it's not like I did anything bad to them, but just in my head, I probably didn't think, poor them.
Yeah, fair enough. It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's just, I think when you're about to have children, people are like, generally speaking, like, it's amazing. And what a wonderful time. And they're all really congratulatory. And then the kid's born and like, their life is over. You're not going to get to go out. And you're like, what?
I know. It's bad, isn't it? Like, you get as a parent, you get so much joy in telling other people your life is done. Like, you are finished. That's it for you.
It's true. I do feel like I should add, because like last week I said the story about when I tried to take Lils to school and she cried. Today, so I'm going to be on call over the weekend. So the long days, and because my commute to work is about an hour, I'll pretty much leave when she's asleep, and then I'll come home when she's asleep. And so I said to her tonight, like, I read a long story, that's why we're recording a bit late, sorry dude. But I said to her when I read the story, like, I read you a bit more, because I'm probably not going to see that much of you over the weekend. And she's going to see her Nana and Granddad tomorrow for an Easter. I can't whoop-de-doo. So I was like, have a good time tomorrow. Obviously, when you're asleep, I'll come and give you a kiss. But, I guess I'll kind of see you when I see you. And she cried. She's like, I'll miss you so much. And I was like, oh my gosh. So there you go. Like, it's not all down. That was quite nice. I was a bit, but then to a point where I was a bit like, I'll miss you too. And she was just probably like crying. And so there you go.
No, I mean, I did feel really sad when you said that on the podcast the other week, and I sort of do relate to it, because obviously when you're really busy at work and your little one just gets used to a certain routine, they don't like it when that routine goes the other way. So I did completely relate to it, but I'm glad that you've pulled it back.
Pull it out, for today anyway. I mean, it'll be different. Like, it'll be different when I see her again. She'll find me annoying. That's just the way it is. But I've got to take the wins when I can. So moving on, though, there was a really good tweet from Roshana that I retweeted, because some of the responses were awesome. But I agreed with this. Let's just, before I start talking about it without actually saying what it is, I've done that before. So Roshana Midian Staffel, she tweeted on the 13th of April at 10:54 a.m. and she said, I wish I could recommend medicine to school leavers, but I'm a realist. And with the state of this country, with the levels of student debt people are left with real-term pay cuts and constant vilification by politicians and sometimes the law, I cannot. It's a brilliant job. The actual clinical work is challenging and satisfying, but it's all a balance against the demands of real life and living, and it's currently tipped against it, in my opinion. And there are lots of responses. I thought I'd kind of pose a question to you. Would you recommend the career to school leavers?
Yeah, I don't know. And I think things are changing, aren't they? I think the job it was 20 years ago is not the job it is today. I think back then medicine was more of a vocation, wasn't it? It's like I think the doctor had more respect in general within both the hospital itself and within the community. And obviously, I think things changing with politics, with the media, I just don't think it's the job it was. And obviously, the salary is a big thing as well. It's the salary isn't what it was 20 years ago because of inflation. And then you look at the way student loans are changing
Oh my
now.
gosh, yeah.
Inevitably, medicine's going to be something for the rich and for the privileged. Eventually, that's the way it's going. And so, is it something you'd recommend now? I don't know. Maybe not.
What if your little one's
I don't know. What are your views?
I think you're right. I think it could have been a vocation back then because people were remunerated with, as you say, there was the kind of cultural and societal kind of backing, isn't there? That you had kudos from people for doing that and being seen to kind of serve the community. But then there are the other perks that are kind of unspoken, like free accommodation, particularly when you're junior. One of my old consultants was talking about how they used to have their meals paid for, or at least get them very, very, very cheaply. And, things like going on courses and stuff would be paid for by reps, or, it's just, and whereas now, on the other side, there's way more litigation, there's way more exams and assessments, there's way more paperwork, there's way more oversight to a point where, you're having to be much more senior to do things that you probably would have been able to do at a much more junior level years ago. And that's from the perspective of kind of maintaining safety. So these things aren't necessarily all bad, but they have caused massive changes, and factoring all those things together, it is a different job. It's just interesting though, looking at the kind of responses to the thread. I think some people have said they've got quite interesting takes on it. So some people are talking about medicine as a kind of useful degree in terms of a transferable skill. So there's a reply from Jason, so at Dr_JSA. Important to separate out the two different things you're conflating. I will always recommend a medical degree to sixth formers, solid science degree with communication skills built in. So I mean, that's not a vocation at all, isn't it? It's almost like a way of kind of showing that you've got kind of aptitude for different things. You don't have to work for the NHS after doing one. That's the bit I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it, haven't we? I mean, there's people that have been in our year that aren't working in the NHS anymore. I remember there was a tweet you talked about a while back where there was that guy who left medicine and he did this long tweet about all the problems in the NHS, and then it got a bit of criticism. Probably disagreed with what was being said at the time, because I think he got a lot of criticism for that. And I think I remember reading one tweet saying, people should know what they want to do, and it's going to leave me without an SHO on my wards. I just think that's completely unfair. Like, because you make the decision for medicine essentially when you're 16. And I don't know about you when you were 16, but I didn't know anything about life.
I made terrible decisions at 16.
Exactly. How can you make that lifelong decision that I'm going to be a consultant when I'm 40, when you're 16 years old? Like, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you don't know until you're in it. So I don't think that once people actually get into it and start working, which is really when you really know what it's like, because even as a med student, I don't think you really know what it's like until you're in it and you're working those medical night shifts, etc. I don't think it should be frowned upon. Like, if it's not for people, it's not for people. Now, I know that the government will want to push more of us to go into working for the NHS, and once we've gone through med school. But the reality of it is, if it's not good enough for us to work in, then people are going to leave. And the answer to the people saying, well, I want more SHOs, well, make the job better. Don't criticize people for leaving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not looking for martyrs, are we? Like, I don't think that's a great way of getting a good workforce, by kind of just expecting people to just kind of suck it up or whatever, because they're losing out in so many different ways compared to what our kind of predecessors did. But it's interesting because there's one particular reply from a fellow cardiologist who kind of he got a bit burnt. He got a bit burnt by afterwards, but he goes, Codswallop, but definitely a case of horses for courses. And I'm not sure I agreed with that sentiment, because he's basically implying that if you're not made for it, this is a problem with people just not being made for it or whatever. Whereas I think there are people who would be very, very well suited for it, but just simply because of the financial burdens that you're kind of exposing yourself to through student loans and things, it's just not viable. Anyway, you're just losing out on your best candidates. He goes, still the best, most challenging degree there is. I don't know how many degrees he's done, though, to really say that. Leads to
how can you know that? How can you know
exactly. Like, what is the sample size that he's applying? Leads to a thoroughly rewarding and expansive career. Okay, fair enough, where you impact so many lives. Consultant, still a job for life, so security, but location not necessarily in your hands. If you go into medicine for money and status, you're a fool, but as a gateway degree into several careers. So he's going down that line. It's like a gateway. It's like, what? And then he says, and he goes, I'm living proof of that. And he goes, 20 plus years in the NHS and now in corporate research. Wouldn't have had it any other way. And it just, that bit seems to contradict it to me, but there you go.
It felt like he was going down one line at the beginning, and then he's just completely changed.
Directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah, what a twist. I just didn't know.
It was Bruce Willis all along.
He was! Yeah, it's just, mate, maybe we're all just ghosts, who knows? Oh, I'm sorry if I've ruined that film for you. I just don't know.
I'm sure people have probably seen Sixth Sense by now.
Yeah, I hope so. If you haven't, you should. It's quite good. Oh, yeah. Do you hear Bruce Willis has got aphasia?
Oh, yeah. I didn't quite understand that.
Yeah, I didn't know either. But that's quite sad, isn't it? He's like had to. Yeah. I don't know why I brought that up. Sorry. Let's move on.
I don't know how much I have to say on that topic.
Yeah, sorry.
Other than
just bad. It just gives an insight into my kind of thought patterns. Speaking of which, actually, so there was something equally surreal today. So I saw a tweet from Rohin, so Midlife Crisis, and he tweeted, it was a quote tweet, and it was, so April the 13th at 10:43 p.m., and he was quote tweeting this thread, which is just so weird. It's basically all these social media doctors. That sounds funny for me to say social media doctors, because I feel like people might talk about me in that way, even though like I've got a tiny following or whatever, I've got a podcast. But anyway, these guys are kind of from Instagram, which is completely different. And they're talking about the NFT. Oh God, I forgot what that stands for. NFT metaverse. Do you know what an NFT is?
Non-fungible token.
Yeah. God. And so they're basically talking about examining people like virtually and stuff, and they also like, it's just like loads of words. It sounds, because I'm seeing lots of words and I don't really understand them all, in my head I'm like, oh, is this like a pyramid scheme, or like what's going, it's really weird. Did you see this thread?
I did. I think the concept of people selling stuff as medics isn't new. I think it's probably fair game for things we've just talked about. In terms of salaries not being what they were, people need to feel they do other things. I know it's a lot of these guys are from America, which I don't know how it works over there completely. I think the concept of doing sort of telemedicine isn't completely new. So I think that's basically what this is. But it's then, you've then got the NFT layer on top of it, which I think there's just a lot of skepticism about, especially on Twitter. Like, I don't know. I know you're a football fan as well, but they basically, even football. Not anymore. No, I don't watch football anymore.
I
know. I thought I wouldn't bring that up, but basically, even like, you know, I'm a Liverpool fan, and Liverpool brought out this. They started doing some NFT stuff, and it just got a massive backlash. And I think some of the issues with it is questionable with regards to, because it uses blockchain, about the environment and that kind of stuff isn't cool. I would say though, in terms of like the league table of things I find problematic in medicine, I don't think, if I'm honest, NFTs is high up on there. For me, I think private practice in the UK is a lot more problematic than the NHS in terms of creating toxicity in departments and impacting patient care. So
go on.
If anything, that's the kind of thing that should be spoken up about, and that's the kind of thing people should be brave enough to talk about. NFTs, I don't really care. And I don't think that's impacting any of the patients I see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, don't you think the NFT thing's just kind of a bit boring though, isn't it? Isn't it like how when AI, you know, people's like, everyone's like, if you look at recent kind of papers, I don't know, from a couple of years ago, everything was like, AI did this, AI did that. And if you talked about AI, suddenly it was going to be everywhere. Like people, like it'd get published, because I think people were just really preoccupied with AI. Or like when Oculus...
AI is going to be massive though. It is going to be big. It's taking longer than we thought. Sure. But I think in 10 years, AI will have a massive say in medicine.
Sure, I didn't want to say, because I know that they probably go for radiology first, right? And so
they will completely. But as things stand, it will help us rather than rather than hamper us.
I was hoping that was going to wind
in the
up.
long term, that will be different. But by the time that AI messes up radiology, well, it's going to mess up the whole of medicine. For it to be that powerful, to be able to completely report a scan, it's going to be doing loads of other stuff.
Yeah, sure. And then we'll have to like deal with the kind of eventual eradication of humankind by like the Terminators and stuff, isn't it? Skynet.
Exactly, and then there'll be cockroaches and SHOs.
Yeah. No, SHOs again. Yeah, fair enough.
Central doctors.
Do you think you'd survive and be part of the resistance, or do you reckon you'd be part of like the initial culling?
I don't know if that's a serious question or not. Because the look on your face was really serious.
It is.
So
I'm being serious. Like
serious.
sometimes I do wonder, like if there was a zombie apocalypse and stuff, like would I survive? And I kind of do. Do you not think about stuff like that? Oh yeah, sure. Neither do I. No. Okay. Do you never ever think about that?
I don't think about that. I do sometimes think about like Back to the Future type scenarios, and like if I had to go back to a certain time and then relive the rest of my life,
right?
Like how would I go about it?
Yeah,
and like without people realizing that I know everything.
Oh, you'd try and what would you do to the you from that time though? Would you bump him off? Or would you tell him everything? Like, Biff?
Oh no, I am that, but I don't know how it works, but I am that person.
Well, that doesn't make any sense though. What, you'd go back in time
fully back to...
and you'd implant yourself in that timeline.
Yeah,
you haven't thought that through.
But you know everything.
That's a terrible. That doesn't make any sense. You haven't thought this daydream through. What kind of? This is not a robust daydream. So like, what? You're going to go back in time, and then no, you're not even going to go back. You're going to send your consciousness back in time, and then what's going to happen?
Yes, that's it. You send your consciousness into that person.
I know. I'm doing
that. That person now knows everything that you know.
Yeah, I'm doing all the heavy lifting for you in this daydream. So like, so what's going to happen? So your previous consciousness, though, that's interesting, though, because is your consciousness from then?
It's dead.
It's dead. Oh my gosh, that's dark, man.
Yeah, it's dead.
That's dark.
It's gone. It's
wow.
gone. But then think of all the things you could do.
Yeah, fair enough. What would you do first? Would you just invest in Apple or something? Oh no, who would you invest in if you had to? All these, or like I don't know, McDonald's or.
I'd probably just have a good nap or something.
Yeah, an apple. Okay, no qualms.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So like, well, all right. I guess I don't really ever do that. But I think I asked Imran this, but say if you went back in time physically, not just your conscious, crazy idea, but like if you went back in time.
The classic way. Fine.
Yeah, and you went and told yourself that. And then you could go back to the future, and then you could reap so you wouldn't have to do all the legwork and have to go through the awkward.
But you're just totally ripping off the movie. At least I'm trying to be a bit different about it. You're just completely ripping off the Back to the Future movie.
Because there are.
You're just gonna give the almanac to yourself, and then that'll be it.
Yeah, I know, but there is no such. But yeah, what like in Carter Encyclopedia or something. But like
in Carter, classic. They had Weezer, Buddy Holly on that. Amazing, wasn't it?
The reason why Back to the Future is so awesome is because it's a robust way of thinking. It makes sense, I think. Whereas this consciousness thing, I think, also ends up getting dark because I don't want to have to kill myself. I'd feel bad about it. I feel bad about killing anyone, especially myself. So at least this way I get to live, and also you don't have to go through the montage of you like going into the betting shop. You don't have to deal with the montage. You just go back to the future and it's all done, and then you're rich, and you're like, yeah, oh yeah, I did all that. That was old me.
No, but anyway, I feel like this is going on too long, and I feel like in the editing, this is most likely going to be cut.
No, this is gold. This is gold. But anyway, because the reason why I thought you were going to be on the same page as me with the zombie apocalypse thing, and then I was going to ask you as a radiologist if you felt that you had a special particular skill that would mean that you were more likely to survive, say, in the zombie apocalypse. Like maybe you could weaponize the CT scanner or something. But yeah, maybe.
I don't think you thought this through. Because I can report scans, I can survive a zombie apocalypse. I don't understand. Yeah, I can do a CT biopsy, so I can survive.
You're mean with this. Okay, let's drag us back on topic then. So here's a Junior Doctor thread, Junior Doctors UK from Reddit. So the title is, so it was posted by Quizzled222. Is it really so hard to just be friendly? Bit of a rant, but here goes. Start of new FY rotation. New consultant not met before. Turns up for ward round. All prepped. Notes ready. Cow logged in. That, just in case you don't know, is a computer on wheels. And blood's loaded. Wow. Cool. I mean, the blood's loaded thing, I wonder if that's on some kind of program that will just like log you out if you have that logged in for a period of time. So that seems stressful. Anyway, some jobs even preemptively completed. So this F1's on the top of their game. Consultant.
Yeah, they're smashing it.
Yeah, they're smashing it, aren't they? Whereas I'd be like, oh, I've lost the blood folder, and the cow doesn't have any battery, and I don't have a pen, and where are the notes today? Anyway, so consultant, are we ready for the ward round? FI1, oh, hi, Dr. X, I'm Y. A bit unimaginative in terms of names given, but anyway. One of the new FY1s. SHO, hi, I'm Z, one of the new SHOs. Consultant, good. I'm Dr. X. Shall we get going? Long, tedious ward round commences without a hint of friendly chit-chat for over 2 hours. Must be a medical ward round. Consultant pops back later in the day. Any issues? No? Good. And departs. Similar interaction with different consultants in the same department last week and fairly reflective of previous experiences elsewhere too. I'm sure after many years of junior doctors rotating every 4 months, consultants must get bored of learning new names, etc. But is it really so hard to ask which rotation we've come from, welcome us to the team, ask what our interests are? Simple things like feeling welcome and supported in a team make huge differences to morale and productivity at a time when this job is miserable enough as it is. Can we not be friendly anymore? Any advice for those who've been through similar before? What do you think? You don't have to worry about this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do, because we do meet, we have new trainees all the time. And we've got to speak to them. It comes back to what I said before.
Do you know all their names? Do you know all your trainees' names?
Yeah, of course. We don't have that many.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
But it comes to that thing of being consultant. How to be a good consultant is 10 to 20% clinical skills and 80% the rest of it, and actually just being a good person and being nice and engaging your team and making them. I mean, in no way is that consultant empowered that team to actually do better, perform better, have they? Like the thing I liked about medicine, I told you this the other day, was that the thing I miss in radiology is that you had a team and you had a lot of sort of banter and camaraderie in that team. And that's what made medicine great. And when you don't have that, yeah, it is a bit miserable. I mean, this consultant's done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll bring up an example of how that episode is by far not terrible. I mean, I remember one of my first months in radiology, and I was doing CT sessions for the first time. So it was my first week doing CT, so I was a bit nervous. And there was a consultant sitting there, and I had to join their list. And so I sit up beside them, and they don't look at me. They don't say anything. And then, at this point, you sort of feel a bit awkward, and you sort of say, oh, I'm supposed to be sitting with you. And they just sort of grunt.
Oh, God.
And so you're like, okay. And then randomly, after about an hour, they just start talking to me, and they start showing me a random MRI scan. And they start showing me like random things on it. And so just to sort of acknowledge what they're saying, I just sort of say, okay, yeah, okay. They turn around and they say, what are you saying yes for? And I was just a bit taken aback and just sort of said, I was just acknowledging what you were saying. And they then said, well, look, if you don't know anything, don't say anything at all. Even the third years don't know this. And at that point, it was really awkward for the next 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Because then I didn't know how to acknowledge what they were saying.
Yes.
Do you
nod?
I nodded, but not a big nod.
Right.
It had to be like a small nod.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just completely toxic behaviour. I mean, that is terrible. That is how you make someone feel intimidated and bullied, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, and this kind of behaviour I find particularly in London teaching hospitals in radiology is a real problem. And it's probably one reason why I decided to leave London for my consultant job. Because people have reached out to me on Twitter and told me about experiences they've had. And it's absolutely terrible. So yeah, being a consultant, 80%, be nice. Just be nice to your team.
How do you think they get to behave? Like, why are they behaving like that? Why is it because nobody?
It's a vicious cycle. Partly that. Partly this is what they've seen. So this is what they know. So like, there are some trainees that will see that and think, okay, that's what I'm going to do to my trainees, and I've seen that happen. Completely. Yeah. And it's just terrible.
It's so weird, isn't it? Can you imagine like uttering the words? You've not responded. Why are you saying yes?
What are you saying yes for?
Like, I'm telling you the stuff that you're not supposed to know. You're supposed to be sat there dumbfounded, not making any noise. That's essentially what you're saying. You're saying that...
What did she want? I don't know.
I
don't know.
Wow. I mean, that was a power thing, wasn't it? But it's so funny that there was that period of time. It was almost like they were kind of mustering up the courage to say anything to you. And then they just came out with that kind of complete awkward horribleness. And it's like, oh, maybe it's just better like that you are right to not say anything at the beginning. I think it's just so that's so bizarre. I just kind of wonder though, because we've all encountered people like that who are just so weird, and like just to kind of say what their behavior out loud, it's completely preposterous to anyone you meet. So but then these are probably normal people who have families and friends and whatever, and don't behave like that to them. So I just kind of like wonder like how as soon as like at what point does it switch? Like when they get into the car in the morning, does the cloud just slowly float over their head, or is it when they kind of open the door to the office like, right, everyone I speak to now I'm going to treat like shit? Like, how does it happen? Or there's like a switch?
I don't know. I think it's a trainee thing. I think you're completely right.
Power.
I think it's the power thing.
Yeah.
I think it's, if something is irritating them, they'll just take it out on them. It's completely unfair.
Yeah.
But then they weren't the only person. There were many people who did that, and I saw many people. I mean, look, in general, I feel quite sad when Imran talks about the bad times he had during radiology training. I had an amazing time in my 5 years. It was an absolutely amazing 5 years. And in general, most people were nice to me. There was the odd occasion something like that happened. It was mostly in that first year when people didn't know me. It shouldn't be like that, though.
Yeah, definitely. You've come across people who are like stressed. Like, you know, if you found, I remember like once when I was in F1 and calling the midreg to see a patient, I remember like whilst I was talking to him, he was really curt, but his bleep had gone off like 5 times. And I remember once he just got so stressed, I think he kind of like lifted his arm up like he was going to throw the bleep against the wall, and then he realized that that's a terrible thing to do. So then he just kind of slid it across the floor, so it slid across the room. And I just and I just like silently just walked up and went and got it up and then brought it back to him. Like,
did he keep doing it, and did you keep fetching it? How many times did you do it?
But like, I could tell that guy was going through some stuff, and so you get it, right? That's the situation.
But MedReg is that job,
exactly.
though. MedReg is that job.
Exactly.
Right? It will take anyone down.
Yeah, fair enough. And I was the F1 next to him, so he's being like curt to me, like whatever. Like, you know, I was just adding another thing onto his power. Yeah. And so I guess there's also that side of it, that thing, trying to like empathize with these people. But I remember like there's this particular registrar when I was doing hepatobiliary surgery who was so horrible, who's so horrible, who's such a bully. And I hope like wherever he is now that he has like really awful hemorrhoids, and like whenever he takes his shoes off there's Lego. I hope that happens. But anyway, and I remember like
you went for the bum first.
Bum first, yeah. Whenever he sits down it's sore. No, that's not nice, but a bit. And so like, and he was so horrible. And I remember like once someone's talking about like meeting his wife and family and his kids, and being like, oh wow, he has children. And I remember being like, how does he have children? Like, he must be like so horrible to them. And like in my head, because I just couldn't compute like that you could just be so horrible to like a subset of people and then just be nice to other people.
It is that though, isn't it? Yeah, it is that.
It's amazing.
They just do it to their juniors.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? So kind of moving on, but it's in a similar theme. There was this other really good thread on Junior Doctors UK. I feel like I've like cussed it on Twitter, and so I actually do really enjoy kind of like browsing it. It's just every so often I come across something problematic. But if you ever say that,
you've always been a Reddit fan, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I love Reddit.
You've always been into Reddit.
Yeah, before Twitter, I was on Reddit. So yeah, I've got a lot of good things to say about Reddit. And so this is another Reddit thread, and this was posted by Much Ado About M, and it was posted 2 days ago. And the title of the thread is "Most Toxic Team Member / Boss You've Worked With." And it said, give me all your micromanaging, chaotic, backstabbing stories, just a couple of examples from my own experiences. And some of these are good examples. So, but a particularly common one is number 2. So, consultant who promises the world of ACATs. It's funny how that is made to seem like a massive thing when actually it's like you literally click on a link and then an ACAT, how long does that take to fill in really? Like sometimes in the description, I'll put in all the patients and stuff that I've seen. So you've literally just got to copy that in. So probably what takes 30 seconds to do. But anyway, This person never fills them in and doesn't respond to chasing emails and messages. And this other one worked in the same office as registrar, would email me requests of things to do rather than speak to me directly.
What did you think about that consultant who didn't fill out the stuff? Is that toxic? Is that really, really bad? Because now I feel really bad about any time I might have missed a request. Might have missed a toxic.
I think, well, I mean, that person's got a pattern of behavior, isn't it? And I guess if you started to get, like, if it's coming up towards the end, like changeover, or if you're starting to get emails pestering you about it, I imagine you'd probably do it then, wouldn't you? Probably. No?
I think so. I get a lot of requests. I get so many. What I say is, look, to do it, we've got to sit down and do it together, because
you'll forget.
There will always be about 20 things I need to do, and so it will be low on the list. So to do it, we've got to. When you're with me, let's do it.
Okay.
And I will make the time. I will specifically make the time. We'll do it.
Okay.
But when I get texts about it, that's when I will definitely do it.
I see. So they need to. So just for tips out there for like medical students and junior doctors, that's how you do it. You WhatsApp them.
When I get the WhatsApp,
then you're like,
then I
God,
think this person really needs it.
I
should probably do it.
Yeah, they're coming to me on my own. I'm in my home, and they're reaching out there. I mean, what else? Where does the line? These guys are crazy. Like, where will it stop? They'll turn up on my front door. Yeah, I see what you mean. There's some ones which are like, so a psychiatry reg who, when he did his weekly patient reviews, asked, "Are you eating, drinking, sleeping, having any thoughts of hurting yourself or others in one breath?" And would dismiss patients if they answered correctly, or try to convince them to change their answers if they didn't. Oh my gosh.
I don't know why I'm laughing. That's
awful,
really bad.
Isn't it? That's so awful. You can see why this is anonymous. That's horrendous. And then there's this other one. I've actually met a person like this. I had a female consultant who simply wouldn't talk to women juniors, except when she wanted to call me a stupid little girl. The reg who made someone hold his pen for him. I never to this day understand why he couldn't keep hold of it or put it in his pocket / shove it up his ass. This is an amazing thread. I really recommend people check it out.
I mean, it just highlights that it's rife, isn't it? It's rife in any specialty. I mean, I talked about the radiology examples I've been through. I don't know if you must have encountered stuff in cardiology, I'm guessing. But it's everywhere, isn't it? And as I say, it's a vicious cycle. People see that behaviour and they think it's the way to go. I think some of it is, as you say, as you alluded to with the med reg, some of it is stress management, isn't it? Yeah. It's knowing how to deal with that stress and not take it out. Like, it's when I get lots of requests and I'm really busy trying to get through a reporting session, like the difference in my behaviour, I'm sure you have the same when you do like an on-call, the difference in my behaviour on the phone from that first phone call in the morning to
the last one,
like 6 hours later, is completely different. And that's just human nature. But then it's just, there's a line, isn't there? There's a line that you just do not cross.
Yeah, definitely. Check that out if you really want to get depressed. It's a great thread for that. Moving on. So actually another slightly depressing thread, because this person's got loads and loads of followers. So this is Dr. Tech Kong. And the picture of this person, I mean, he looks kind of older. He's wearing a terrible tie and he's got a poppy on. And I've got to admit, like, it looked a little bit unrealistic, because it says GP, ex-police surgeon, and he's tweeting about kind of doing an A&E shift. And I was like, do I believe all this stuff? But he was basically...
It looks fake, doesn't it? It looks fake.
It does. So I GMC'd it just to check. And this person, if you kind of were to guess his age, this person is on the register. So I don't know if... lots of tweets that have been rather problematic, but this particular one I've highlighted is from the 13th of April, and it says, another horrible A&E shift last night with patients turning up as GPs shirk and avoid seeing patients or not exercising acumen. Oh my God. An A&E manager who once ran a GP practice agreed how incentives have corrupted GPs. People with delayed onset adverse events followed jabs are part of a sick lottery. If it can't be proved, it's dismissed as coincidence. All that can be done for them is diligent monitoring, advice, and treat as appropriate. My earnest plea is to the public to be cautious. This has got 2,861 likes.
The weird thing about this, it's like, it's a Twitter thread, but it's two completely different. It's like he's trying to hit all the headlines, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like all the controversial topics. Yeah. In what, like, this guy's obviously going for likes and popularity. Yeah. So then the question is, does he actually believe this stuff, or is he just putting it out there to be to be liked and followed.
I think there's probably. I mean, this person's got 35,000 followers. And it also mentions it's a party, Alliance for Democracy and Freedom. It sounds some weird. It has some dubious connotations, I think. I mean,
so there's a massive flag on his.
Yeah.
It's a literal red flag, isn't it? The Union Jack. It's a shame it's got that way, but
yeah.
You see a flag and you get a bit sad, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but for my mental health, I just don't like to look at stuff like this. I think you've just got to acknowledge that Tech Kong, etc., will always exist, and you can't stop Tech Kong. Yeah. He will just keep Tech Konging.
He's from the East Midlands. That's your end, isn't it?
Are you trying to tar me with the same brush as Tech Kong?
Well, yeah, I am. Are you a social justice fighter? Is that something? Is that what they're called? I don't even know.
Yeah, but only on Saturdays.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, let's move to something a bit more. Well, it's actually also kind of depressing, but I won't keep talking about depressing things. We'll find something positive to end with. But the guy, I kind of mentioned him last week, and I'm going to mention him again just because, his Sahil Bloom.
You love this guy, don't you?
Yeah, I think he's really cool. But this interesting, it makes me think. It gives me pause. So this tweet was from the 10th of April, and it says, "Harsh truth, you'll only see your loved ones a few more times. In May 2021, I had a conversation with a friend that changed my life. I was talking about living in California, so far away from my parents in Boston, when my friend asked how often I saw them and how old they were. I said I saw them about once a year and that they were in their mid-60s. And he said, okay, so you'll see them 15 more times in your life. Wait a second, once per year, 15. So he's assuming that they're going to die at the age of 75. Gut punch. It sounds insensitive, but it's just real. Our time is finite, and we fail to recognize it until it's too late." I do think there is a point to that. I mean, I probably see my parents probably once a month. Probably, it definitely was more pre-COVID. Once a month, probably once every 6 weeks. Do you follow this guy?
I don't, but I think I might do because of your passion for him. Yeah. I mean, this tweet's a bit of a morbid one. I don't know. People probably are tuning in to get a bit of light-hearted Twitter banter.
Keep bringing them down.
We're just going to tell them your family are going to die.
Yeah, so, it's a bit of a downer, isn't it? Mate, we should have.
It is true, though. It is true.
Yeah, we are going to die. I was trying to explain that to Lily the other day, and she was like, "So, are we going to die? Is the world going to explode?" And I said, "No, the world probably isn't going to explode first, but the sun will go out, and then the plants will die, and because the animal, and then we'll die because we won't have any food." And she said, "Oh, when will that be?" And I said, "Well, it won't be us. We'll be long dead by then. By the time that happens, we'll die of old age." And she's like, "Right." I was like, "So good night." I went out.
Okay, I feel better now. It's not just Med Twitter you're trying to spread your misery to. It's also your own flesh and blood.
I did as I had my hand on the light switch. I then thought to myself, that's probably not the best thing to end on. I went back and I kind of talked about something else. I can't remember what I talked about. Oh, God, I can't remember now. But I did go back and decided to talk about some other things because I don't want to have nightmares. But I kind of thought, though...
So you talk about other things that were going to die?
Yeah. I don't know why it always just comes back to our mortality, but it does. But I find, that I want to be as honest as I can with her. And even today, she was talking about how she said, I'm drawing a picture of the Easter Bunny and I'm doing it from memory because this one time I saw it in our garden. And I was a bit like thinking to myself, do I want to, because that's not true, is it? That's not true. And I wanted to be like, that's not true. But then I thought, oh no, let her have her imagination. That's nice, because she does have like a wonderful imagination. But then I'm like, I don't know. What do you think? Should I be? Because me and Joe have had this conversation about the whole Santa thing, and this kind of like, are you doing Santa with it?
Yeah, I don't. I think it's too young to quash the imagination. Yeah. I wouldn't go. I think you just let that happen. You let that happen naturally over time, don't you?
The thing is, you put so much effort into it, right? Well, I mean, we have been, with the kind of, with the cookies out, and we do the little kind of footprints and the key in the door so he can get in because we don't have the chimney's blocked up and all this kind of stuff. And it's a bit exhausting because she asks like all kinds of questions about it. And I'm like, oh God, we're just lying to her. We're just like making up stuff, like when you go and meet Santa, oh yeah, that is Santa, but they're all Santa and there's Santas everywhere. And the Santa on TV looks a bit different to that other Santa because I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that one.
I think she sounds like an inquisitive kid. Yeah. I think she will work it out. Yeah, exactly. I don't think you need to have the conversation.
No, but the problem is then is going to be like, and then she'll be like, so Santa doesn't exist. And then the next question will be like, then what the hell What the hell was all that? What the hell was all that? We baked cookies. Was that real? And you'd be like, no, that was a lie. Yeah, we lied to you for all that time.
The cookies weren't real.
No, I ate those. They went to a good home, and but I don't know. So like me and Joe were like, oh, maybe we should say that. It was a story, and we just thought it'd be interesting for you to kind of take.
Yeah, that's nice. I think that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to do that with Erin. I think we're just going to start with, it was a story, mate.
This is a story for you.
Yeah, mate. And we're all going to die.
I just feel at this stage you're just telling your daughter you're dying to tell her, aren't you? There's no Santa is what I'm getting from this conversation.
Yeah, I'm not
You're dying to tell her we're all going to die.
Yeah,
you're dying to tell Twitter the whole family's going to die, and you want to tell your daughter Santa doesn't exist.
Yeah, why is it? Why am I like that? Why am I obsessed with? I don't know. Anyway, okay, well, let's end on something a bit more positive because we're coming up to time. So I was tweeted today being called out because I've never seen Mean Girls. Have you seen Mean Girls?
I think at the time it was a thing, wasn't it? It was.
Wait a second, Nav. Is this a yes or no question? Have you seen Mean Girls? What
I have seen.
You have. Okay. Do you feel ashamed?
I do a little bit. Yeah, because you try to make yourself look really cool, saying I've not seen Mean Girls. I'm really cool.
That's so cool. I'm being slayed, mate, for not seeing it, and it makes me feel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does. But I mean,
I think it was an important film of the time. And I think everyone must see it at least once.
Do you think it's dated? I mean, I kind of put it into the, I don't know, She's All That.
I don't know. This is it. I've not seen it since it was around, so I can't really remember it. Right. But I remember it being a thing.
So it doesn't sound like it was that good. I don't really see why people are getting so het up about it, basically. That's kind of what I'm about.
I think it's one of those cult things that people just like to hang their hat on and it's not actually good, but let's pretend it's a bit good and hang on to it.
There are all these kind of like quotes and stuff that people like throwing in with gifts and things, and I do feel that I'm missing out in that way because I don't really understand them, apart from the Get and Loser one. That makes sense.
I think you just need to suck it up and watch it, don't you?
But it looks so old.
I think so, but as you say, I think movies from that era now seem a bit dated.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, like, so, the new Dune came out, and so I thought I'd be all kind of, like, pretentious and read the books first before the Dune movie came out, which I did. And I thought, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the old movie first and be like, oh, yeah. Because then you can be that kind of person who's like, I read the book, and the book's way better than the film. Oh, the original film.
I hate that person.
Yeah, I'm that person. But I tried to watch the original film, and I was like, wow, this is wacky. This is way wackier than it seemed in the books. I haven't seen the new... Have you seen the new one?
No, I've not done any of that. I'm that uncool that... I barely know what it is.
Oh, fair enough. Anyway, I'm so glad I got you on. When's Imran coming back? Anyway, what time is it? No. The time's gone.
No, but I wanna. Are we finishing up?
Yeah.
I mean, I wanna say thank you for having me on, and I want to say that I'm very proud of both of you actually. That you've got this far with the podcast, and like sometimes people say, "Oh yeah, have you heard of that podcast?
No way.
Do you know that guy Imran?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know those guys." So thanks to you guys for letting me look cool and say yeah.
Oh yeah, it's been an honor. I mean, the time flew by, which is a good sign, and we were worried about getting through the topics, but we did. Thank you so much for stepping in. You were awesome. And I've got to plug the sponsors, although I think Imran will probably add a bit at the end for the sponsors. But do you want to end with any kind of final thoughts? Any pearls of wisdom?
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Yeah, fair enough. It's funny that it needs to be said, but it does, doesn't it? Okay. All right, well...
It does.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys out there for listening. What does Imran say? He says, try not to get in any trouble and let's not get cancelled. And I think those are the things he says, isn't it? Whereas I kind of like...
You've done a great job, man. You've done a great job with the segues and trying to be smooth. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. See you next week. Bye now.
Bye.